Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's Bike Chat. My name is Jonah and I am soon to be joined by my co-host, Gunnar. This evening on Bike Chat, we are going to be talking with none other than Justin Lindeen. Justin Lindeen, I like to call him the jack of all trades. Boy, he is coming to a race venue near you. I tell you, there's not a vehicle with two wheels that can be taken on the road or off-road in between the barriers that Justin has not found an opportunity to command. Just coming off a recent stage win at the Transylvania Epic, and also taking second place and hailing to us from the Midwest right now, taking some time on a social event to break away to be here on Bike Chat. Justin, good evening, and how are you tonight, my friend? What's going on? We are having a little bit of audio difficulty. All right, please stand by. In the meantime, if you do get a chance, we encourage you to head over to Bike Chat on Facebook. Give our Facebook page a like. It would be great to have you stop in and give us a shout out. We do appreciate that. As always, any questions, comments, or concerns or feedback would be greatly appreciated. And again, typically our show runs 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There he is. Justin, how are you? Good evening. Can you hear me? He's working on it. And again, no worries, folks. We're just trying to point out that is one of the challenges sometimes with live stream. Sometimes you get a little bit of a challenge in the audio or the video, and we are certainly working through that, so we do appreciate your patience. Also, too, wanted to give my, here he goes, my co-host with the most. Looks like, oh, nice.
Hi, guys.
There he is. He's here.
I'm happy to be here.
All right. Good evening. Good evening.
What's up?
Yeah. Not much. Well, Gunnar, we are live. Actually, I jumped in earlier. Justin's got a little bit of a tight schedule.
Nice.
So we wanted to kind of get things rocking and rolling from him. It does seem like on his end, however, he is having a challenging time getting in. We had him first on audio, then we had him on video. So we are working through that. Yes. Here we go. All right. He's on it. He's on it. Show colors. All right. Accept. Come on, Justin. And I'm not sure. It looks like you were having a little bit of a tough time getting on there as well. Is that what I was saying?
Well, I think it was less blab and more my computer just taking forever to boot up. I don't know if it's just I don't know. Maybe my electricity's running slow or something here in Rochester. I don't know.
Seriously. Yeah, I don't know. Justin, not able to connect due to network error. Make sure your connection isn't blocked by a firewall. He's coming in through an iPhone. Is there any reason why he would get that warning? Do you know offhand?
I don't know why he would get that warning, especially on a phone, because I would think that once you download and accept all the settings, that it just kind of plops it up there.
Yeah, I don't know. He said every time I connect, I can hear you at first, then it all freezes. That's strange. I don't know. I mean,
the only thing I can think of is possibly if there's other apps running in the background to, kill them all and then start again.
Okay. I'm going to tell him any other apps you have running.
Yeah.
On your phone. Okay.
See if that'll help.
Yep. He's like I said, he was in for a little while, and then I don't know. See what happens. He pops in and pops out.
Right.
So I don't know what is.
Oh.
What's that?
Oh, I was just bumming out. Wanted to talk to the honey badger. Come on.
I'm telling you.
Get on.
I know. Well,
it's all closed.
It's all closed. Okay, so everything's closed. So if there's nothing running in the background, then that is odd, because the last time you logged on, if you didn't have any apps running, then there technically wasn't anything interfering in the background. Only thing, maybe power your phone off and on. That would be something.
Yeah, restart the phone. Wilo Glean, Fat Bike Guru. Nice to see you on here, Wilo. Growler
What's
bike.
up, big?
Awesome.
He's in. He's in here. He's in the house.
Yeah.
What's up, Wilo? Good to see you. We are having some little bit of a
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical D's. No worries. All right, here comes Wilo. What's going on, brother? Good to have you on the show. Ross from Just Another Cyclist. Good to see you as well. We're waiting on trying to get Justin Lindeen on here, and again, it's just having some just technical difficulties, but that's live streaming. So hopefully give Justin a little bit more time. I know he's given us a little bit of his evening. Got some other stuff going on, easy man, which is understandable. And I bumped out. Oh no, I don't want to kick you out. Sorry, that would not be good. I don't want to do that.
Just kick everyone out.
So, well, while Justin is trying to get that dialed in, which again it can be a challenging thing to do, is I did actually talk to our good friends and not recent, but previous bike chat guest, Bike Talks. I did talk to Neil. I don't know if you remember Neil from Bike Talks.
Yeah,
he's doing well. And he's pretty excited. Yep, there you go. He's pretty excited to find out that we were talking to Justin on the show.
Nice. And
give him a shout out to Bike Talks. They're on Instagram, also Twitter. They're on Facebook as well. But very cool thumb over grip system, by the way. In case you're wondering what TOGS stands for, Gunnar actually had the packaging.
Yeah, that's the packaging.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. Yeah, and then. At any rate, he had said, "Hey, by the way," he said, "Do you know that just recently, Justin actually won a Transylvania epic. He won a stage,
nice.
And he also, I think he took second place overall.
Woo!
So, I mean, that's pretty solid. So if you're not familiar with that race, it is a pretty robust race across some." Definitely some punchy terrain, and it obviously it takes on sort of that Tour de France style multi-day event. Obviously, a stage event, right. And each stage is pretty challenging. So I think that not only the fact that he won a stage, but also took second place overall is certainly a commendable effort. So that is hats off to Justin. And again, if you're just tuning in on this edition of Bike Chat, we were hoping to get Justin on here. But as I said, he is having some technical difficulties on his end. So we do apologize. No sweat. We can certainly try to get him back on the show again. But as I said, my name is Jonah Pasquale. I'm here with my co-host, Gunnar Soros. Gunnar is a amateur professional craft beer lover, cyclist, techno weenie, blogger, vlogger. I can't even I don't know how many different terms that you've now adapted. It's tough. I mean, if you were to give me a business card, it'd be like, you'd be like Gigundus. Like, here's my business card.
Right. Here's all I do. And actually, I should just list things that I don't do, and that would probably be a smaller list.
Seriously. So again, for the listener audience, we had a great show last week, and as I said, I think that was almost serendipity that unfortunately our guests that we did have scheduled were not able to make it. But if you guys have missed that show, it was a pretty interesting debate / not really a debate, but just more or less a conversation about the state of the union of e-bikes and electric bikes, if you will. And I've actually done. Hey Joy, good to see you in there. Thanks for dropping in. Joy's in the house. All right, let's see. Justin's going to try to get back in here. But as I said, if you missed last week's show, definitely check it out on replay. We're talking about some of the interesting aspects of e-bikes and how they influence, or they are potentially going to influence, our culture.
Right.
This is, as I said, is going to, I believe, open up, I think, a lot of different conversations, good, bad, and different, advocacy, industry things, those kinds of things. But at any rate, I believe one of the other things that I tried to do this past week was procure an e-bike or a pedal assist bike to at least get, some mileage mileage under my belt, or at least get a better feel of what it is we're talking about. So I'm on a mission, just so I will definitely make that a point to try to get onto one or more of those bikes. Yeah, we Justin, hang tight. We are trying to get some backup on the show. One of the nice things about Blab is they do a pretty good job in kind of coming to the rescue, if they will. So sit tight, stay tuned. I know we have you just for a little bit there, but in the meantime, kind of hanging out is Justin Lindeen. We're trying to get him onto the live feed. One of the interesting things, Gunnar, I did want to talk to you about this, and I started mentioning it was, and Justin, you can. He's trying to jump in. It's just acting kind of wonky. But apparently, Neil had indicated to me that there was, I think, an Italian rider. I'm not 100% sure on that, but apparently they were calling themselves the Honey Badger. So I don't know, and that's why we kind of have Justin on the show. I mean, he might be able to officially clarify that, but I think there was a little bit of exchange of dialogue between potentially this one athlete and Justin. In fact, that Justin, and it's funny because I don't necessarily know if Justin woke up one day and said, I'm gonna call myself the Honey Badger. In fact, it's weird because I'd run across a couple just ads in magazines and they were calling him out as the honey badger kind of thing, and it was interesting. And at any rate, I think it would be kind of cool to get a perspective on that story. But we can certainly stay tuned. So
right.
In the meantime, definitely give Justin Lindeen a follow. He is on Twitter. You're on Wi-Fi, okay?
Maybe try switching to
cellular. Yeah,
I've had better luck on cellular on my iPhone than I do on Wi-Fi. I don't know. I mean, that's not guaranteed, but yeah, that might be it.
Yeah. So at any rate, that's definitely something that I feel would be interesting as far as the debate. But I think one of the neat things about Justin also too is he's a very well versed rider. I feel there's not a lot that Justin certainly is not good at. I mean, he started out doing some road, went from mountain, did some cross. So he's a very well versed, well polished athlete. So that hopefully should work. If he switched over from Wi-Fi to data, right? I don't know what would be the holdup.
Right.
Let's try.
No problem. Jeez.
Huh. What is it? That Blab help?
I thought it was at help. I know we tried Blabstud a couple of times. I'm trying to look and see if there's another help person to get to. Settings profile.
That would be rad if they actually had like a mid show like help tab, help button.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like if things were kind of going snafu, you could all right. Yeah, I just saw audio a few minutes ago. Huh, that's weird. Why does it say unable to connect due to network error? Make sure your connection isn't blocked by a firewall. How could that be the case if he's logging in from his phone? I don't understand. Yeah. Does that make any sense to you?
To me.
I mean, I could see, a PC or a tablet,
right?
See, so it's like, but unless his phone signal is that bad, that might be part of it. You know what I mean? Well, that's a bummer. That is a bummer. All right. Well, at any rate, no, poor guy. No worries. All right, so Justin, there he is. He's jumping in and out. Well, Justin, as I said, I'm sure if you can hear us, don't sweat it, and Gunnar can agree with me, and we can both attest to the fact that some days the shows just don't go the way you want them to. But that just gives you the flexibility of trying to work around that. So, Justin, if you want to kind of just tap out for the night, no worries. I can totally understand. You've certainly made your due diligence to try to stay on point with us. What I can also recommend, Justin, just touch base with me after, and we will go ahead and reschedule and put you back into the queue to come on to Bike Chat, because I certainly would love the audience to have a chance to hear more about your story.
Yeah,
definitely a good one. But no worries. Just in general, as if you feel like again your time is limited as it is, and again, unfortunately, we've spent probably the last 10 to 12 minutes trying to get on. L. Joseph E. I will touch base with you. Loved reschedule. All right, fair enough. Well, again, that is the breaks with, unfortunately, live streaming. Our guest, Justin Lindeen, going to be joining us again at another time, so please stay tuned for that reschedule. Justin, appreciate that. Folks, give him a follow on Twitter. You can also find him on Facebook as well, but he is off and riding. So we wish you well until the next time, my friend. It's okay. No worries, Justin. We totally understand. We'll give you the virtual cheers. It's all right. Have a great evening. So Gunnar, again, I've been seeing a lot of your social posts. It looks like you've been doing quite a bit of mountain biking, and that seems to be that you're loving the new bike, the new upgrade. So tell me a little bit about that. What are you thinking? What's like the before and after? You went from an aluminum bike, right, to full carbon, right?
Yep, I went from aluminum to carbon, and it's easy to say, oh yeah, well, it's a magic material and it's the best and all that. And it is, but it's not a huge difference. As far as stiffness and even lightness, it is stiffer and it is lighter, and there is a little more comfort give in it. But ultimately, it's nothing that most people are going to notice. Now, it's an awesome bike. I love it. It handles well. It's just rides really nice. But I don't want to go overboard and say, oh yeah, it's so awesome. Even though it is, if for whoever's top of the line is aluminum or even steel, then those bikes are awesome. I mean, my aluminum bike, I was totally happy with it. Was amazing. It was also, a Gary Fisher Trek. And so the geometry and the handling is really similar. They're very close. I think the Superfly Carbon is maybe a centimeter shorter in wheelbase, and that's taken up into the chainstays. So it probably climbs just a little bit better, and it handles the tight single track just a hair better. But I mean, we're talking a centimeter, like 10 millimeters. So it's not like a huge difference. Everything else, handlebar position, saddle position, everything, I could spot on exactly the same as my old bike. And so it is an awesome bike. But for those people out there that are still riding aluminum or still riding steel, still riding chromoly,
right,
don't get so hung up on what the bike is made out of. Because if the bike is designed well, it's going to be an awesome bike. And so, I was lucky enough to get the upgrade to carbon, but, it is basically the same as far as geometry and everything, the same bike as what I had before from aluminum to carbon. And upgrade. It's a better bike, but it's it's not the be all end all. So
right. Well, I think the two things that are the biggest takeaways is it's definitely preference. I mean, if you again, as I'm sure myself, you probably learned on not the greatest equipment ever.
Right.
And it is what it is. And I'm sure, Ross, he's from Just Another Cyclist. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Ross from Just Another Cyclist can probably relate to this. I think my very first, if I could say, official mountain bike was like a Trek 730 Antelope or something like that. And what the hell? I mean, it was not a BMX bike.
Right.
It was, certainly a little bit more robust and more off-road capable than a Mongoose, Super Goose, or whatever it was I was racing in the BMX days. But I feel that even through the years and moving through the ranks and working in the industry and actually getting, the fortune of having, access to a carbon bike, I feel like, it was definitely a very enjoyable experience right out of the gate. I feel like, for short, quick rides, I don't think it made much of a difference at all.
Right.
I do feel though over like longer duration rides, like 3.5, 4 hours, absolutely, that made a huge difference. But again, I don't, and I don't really ride that much that long these days. Nor do I race for that matter. So I feel like the duration of ride and the quality of ride that I get, I ride aluminum. My Niner Jet 9 is aluminum, and it's a much livelier ride. Obviously, carbon certainly does provide that, but again, it is a little bit more supple. I think the one thing that I'm not a huge fan of in regards to carbon is I feel like it almost for me, it mutes the trail too much. You know what I mean? I like just kind of a jerky, twangy ride. So that's why I think for me, I really like, I like an aluminum bike. My big thing too is I crash, you know what I'm saying? I will crash. I know I crash. And, I know that aluminum, it's, as I mean, it's pretty hard to really damage aluminum. I mean, it'll dent.
Right.
I mean, I've seen people ride bikes with dent down tubes like champs, and it hasn't made any difference. I mean, or the other point to what you're saying is if you have an aluminum bike, right, and something's wrong with it, you're gonna know it. Creaks, makes all kinds of crazy noise. I'm not saying that carbon doesn't necessarily give you those types of telltale signs, but the one thing I can certainly credit the carbon industry is carbon has come head above shoulders where it ever was. So, I mean, it is without question a very durable, very dependable material. So, I mean, I think to what you're saying is, same, they're both going to be good quality rides. I think a lot of it boils down to a lot of different things. What's your budget? What's your preference? There's so many variables in that. From the average consumer perspective, is do you have to have carbon? Not necessarily. Do you have to have aluminum? Not necessarily. I mean, there's plenty of great materials out there. There's chrome, there's steel. I mean, steel's fantastic. I mean, many companies are building with steel. I mean, there's titanium and on and on and on. So,
right.
That is definitely one of those variables that consumers need to pay a little bit more particular attention to, because I think in the end it does make a big difference for
right.
ride quality.
And it does make a difference too, as far as like what you were saying, as far as how the bike feels. I choose to ride a steel road bike because I just love the way it feels. Yeah, I could save a pound or something by switching to carbon or even aluminum. But for the type of riding that I do on the road, I mean, I'm not going out, I'm not chasing the category upgrades. I'm not, riding the fast group ride every week. I'm going out and doing, 1 hour training rides during the weekdays. And then maybe if I can get a 2, 3, 4 hour ride in on the weekend. And so I need something that will be somewhat comfortable for the longer rides, but still give me, at least a little bit of stiffness to be able to do climbing stuff on my short, hard weekday rides. So steel seems to fit that for me. Now, I've ridden like aluminum Cannondales and carbon and other bikes before, and steel, to me, it, especially for a road bike, it's just a classic material. that is durable, that you don't have to worry about. I mean, I have rust spots on my bike. I have where the paint is chipping off because it's just, I think there's a place where my frame pump rubs up against the frame. And so, the paint's rubbed off and there's surface rust on there, but it just holds up and it keeps going. I've cracked a Cannondale road frame before. I know that because of the thin wall tubing, they can be a little fragile in some areas. So it just seems like, well, steel is best. I mean, until I can afford a titanium frame, then maybe that would be best. But
well, it's weird. I think titanium is as far as a frame material, I think it's certainly made a big resurgence, because I know for a while, back in the day, there were just a few handful of companies like Merlin and Moots maybe, and I don't know, that strictly just built in titanium. I do find it interesting, by the way, that our friends over at Oscar Blues at Reeb, they are building in titanium. I feel like that's probably a smart idea on their point, because again, if they are going to go and build a bike, it might as well be in terms of a category leader. I mean, everyone has such high esteem for a titanium tubed bike. That said, they've done what, a fat tire bike, a BMX bike. Hey, Jonathan Perez, welcome back to Bike Chat. Good to have you on the show again. Hope everybody's doing well on your end. They've done, and I don't know, by the way, did you see they've just announced a gravel bike too?
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah, but I mean, I think to the point that you're trying to make is, I mean, these bikes, they're not cheap, right? So I think for the listener audience, I mean, I guess this is something that maybe Ross or you or John, you guys can chime in on this. And I was just at a couple shops, just kind of quizzing them, and they're trying to tell me. I mean, again, I'm saving face here and just listening. They're like, oh man, the high-end market is like just totally dead, and nobody wants a super high-end boutique bike anymore. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at things that like, Kai Newman, what they're doing, and Squid, what they're doing. And, I mean, it's just, there's a lot of like Reeb, we just mentioned Reeb. I mean, there's a lot of really, Dirty Sixer, things like that. I mean, there's so many like unique niche companies that are coming out that they're not off the shelf brands. You know what I mean? You're not, and I don't know. I think maybe Kai Newman is getting to the point where they are. Did they talk about they were going to possibly get into some shop distribution? Maybe, if I remember correctly, was that
trying to get some shop distribution, but a majority of their sales are, direct to consumers. So
yeah. So I think, yeah.
They have interest from retailers, which I think is the key. Is if retailers want to carry a brand, then they should be able to, and so I think that's great.
Yeah, and anyway, as I was saying before, I think that it's interesting to see the direction that the bike market is going. I mean, you've had. I agree, the specialty builders, I like craft beer brewers, those that know bikes, go for them. Mass consumer, not so much. Yeah, no, I Ross, that's a great point. I think you're definitely right on. And I think also too, but that's made it challenging for the IBDs or the bike shop owners, because, let's take Surly, for example. I don't know. I'm Gunnar, if you probably remember. Do you remember the first time you saw Pugsley, right? You're like, oh my God, what's that?
Yeah,
right? It just, yeah. And I think even if you back up, I think pre Pugsley, I remember seeing, I don't know, I think it was called the Karate Monkey or the Steamroller. But I mean, these were bikes that were so different, right? That people were like, wow, this, the Karate Monkey, what crazy geometry, I've got to have it. And I think they obviously were able to, slowly but surely build out their niche and and their followers.
Right.
Whereas Sully now, I mean, I'd say unfortunately probably more mainstream than they would rather be. But I think that if we look at some of the other up and coming brands that we mentioned earlier in the show, we keep talking about, I feel that they're doing a fantastic job in very, very clearly, very concisely monitoring their content, right? Their ebb and flow of information to the consumer, and I feel like if a consumer is getting nothing but pure content and not, media, hip hop and jargon and bullshit, I mean, they're going to much more readily buy into that. The rattle can approach from Squid, for example, or, why do I want a Kind Human, or, why would I want a Jones, or, whatever bike that is popular, in your region, and they'll pay the money. They really will. And I agree with Ross, if they're into it, just like we will, we don't flinch at spending, $14-15 for a 6-pack of beer. People would be like, are you stupid? Like, why would you do that? And we know, because we do that there's a value there. The taste is there. The quality's there. You're not just pounding a beer. It is the experience. I mean, same thing with riding a bike, same thing with you and your carbon bike. Like, it's a great experience.
Right. Well, and that's kind of the key. And, I run into this a lot, and I get, especially online, you get questions from people saying, I'm trying to convince my friend to go and buy a bike shop bike and get a good bike, versus, going to the mass merchant and buying a cheap, crappy bike. And I go back and forth between, for a lot of consumers, and I am in no way advocating going to Walmart and buying a bicycle, because they're crap. But at some point you have to say, you know what, I can't make that decision for you. I can tell you that a bike shop bike is better for, this and this reason. But if that person already has it in their head that they're not going to spend more than $200 on a bicycle, and they don't see the value in a bike shop bike to begin with, you're probably not going to convince them in any way to get one. And so they maybe they should just go and buy a cheap bike, and they'll either be happy and ride that bike, or they'll ride that bike to the point where they'll realize that it is utter crap and they have to upgrade. Either way, you're going to get somebody, hopefully, that is riding instead of, and what I find online especially is somebody will come up and say, hey, I have a friend that's looking at a Walmart bike, and I'm trying to tell him to not go there. To that end consumer, they're looking at us like we're a bunch of snobs, and why can't I spend $200 on this bike? It's a bike. It's going to get me to work, and it's going to, it's a thin line that goes from being knowledgeable to kind of almost being a snob. And the same is with the craft beer industry. We come on and we talk about craft beer, and we say, oh yeah, this beer is so great, and it's got aromas of this and that and all that. And for the guy that's sitting back and drinking his Bud Light, we come across as snobs. And so, it's like, the same that we say about beer, hey, drink what you like and enjoy it. Sometimes I feel like, well, maybe we should say that to, yeah, that's America Light. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes we should just, instead of getting so caught up in convincing somebody to ride a good bike, just convince them to ride more, and
right.
Eventually that decision. I don't know. I kind of went off on a tangent there, but
well, you're right, and I think it's that's a huge variable. I think we can probably tie that into the helmet conversation. I feel like I still have my stance on helmets. You know what I mean? Whether people should wear them or not wear them. I mean, I'm very much like, look, you know, if you're going to get on a bike, wear your helmet.
Right.
A lot of people will go a number of different directions with that conversation. I don't want to necessarily say that in itself completely defines a cyclist, but getting back to the bike itself, you know, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I feel like, you know, we are talking about some high-end bikes. We're talking about some high-end materials, those kinds of things. I mean, it at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, is you know, more, you know, we always say more asses and saddles, you know, it's going to help. It's going to help everybody, you know. And I was just at a buddy of mine's shop today, you know, and he said something that was pretty profound. He's like, yeah, you know, I've been in business for X amount of years. You know, I bought the business from my dad and I took over, you know, I was young and cocky and brash. And, you know, I was like, you know, this is what I'm going to do. And, you know, I'm going to, you know, I'm going to sell, you know, I'm going to sell what I want. I'm going to sell what, you know, I'm going to sell what I think the customers want. And, you know, he had said to me, he's like, it pretty much not only almost put me out of business, but, you know, it bit me in the ass.
Right.
Yeah, like I feel like that's one of the mistakes that even I myself, and I think I kind of heard you say it a little bit, if I'm not reading into two things too much, but, you know, I feel like we try to not give our friends or people that confide in us as like the bike, you know, the bike source or whatever, people that, you know, come to us for information. And, you know, you and I both know that, you know, I would probably never go and buy a bike at a, you know, a big box store. You know, I probably would never buy the cheapest possible, most inexpensive part that I could find to to fix my bike, you know, whatever. I mean, I guess that said, we would not do that because we have this predisposed, you know, thought train or opinion of where our preferences are. Like, that aside, you know, the average customer doesn't know that. They don't know the difference between a good Lycra short and a shitty Lycra short. They don't know the difference, you know, between a Shimano chain, a SRAM chain. They don't know the difference between stands, no tubes. And, you know, it's funny how you can rattle off so many things that without even going into depth, you know, to talk to people. Ross says, my answer now when people ask me is, as a bike expert, what first bike should I get is exactly. No, right. Perfect. No, that's very well said. And I absolutely agree with that. And, you know, I think, Gunnar, you had mentioned it before, and I want to bring that point back up again, is if they get on a bike and they start riding, you know, that is a huge step forward for, you know, all the cyclists, the industry, and the likelihood that person, you know, probably could become a convert and say, man, I'm really digging this. I want to get a road bike. I'm really loving it. I want to get a mountain bike, or, you know, I want to race, or I want to try cyclocross, you know, and I think those are some things that, you know, the industry needs more of,
Right.
and less like, you know, Mr. Customer, Mrs., you know, Mr. Consumer, you know, you need bike ABC or else, you know,
Right.
And I think even the bike shops themselves are, I think they're realizing this, and that you know, we talked about this, I think, from the very, very, very first off the air bike chat, and this was a couple, we probably should bring this topic back, but you know how I feel, and I don't know in Rochester, Minnesota, how a lot of shops have just backed way, way, way off with Mr. Customer, this is what you need, because now they realize that no matter what the walker demographic of that customer is walking in the door, I mean, they're ultimately going to tell that, you know, salesperson what they want, right? You know?
Right. Well, and ultimately, you know, so that statement just got me to thinking about my first mountain bike. I think it was like a $300 Nishiki. I want to say it was a Colorado or something. And I mean, that thing was an anchor. It was probably one tube chromoly, and the rest of it was like pot metal or something. But I bought it at a bike shop, and it was probably the cheapest mountain bike in their lineup at the time for Nishiki. They had other brands there, and I was like, oh, Nishiki, that's awesome. Mostly because I saw also next to it was their top of the line, the Nishiki Alien ACX man
Yeah,
bike.
nice.
And I was like, holy cow, that is freaking awesome. But I can only afford this. So I'm getting this. You know, I bought it. I rode the heck out of it. And, you know, I probably I think everything was all the plastic Shimano. I don't even know what level it was, like 100 components. And, you know, the derailleur broke. Well, then I upgraded to a DX or an XT derailleur. Then the other derailleur broke. And then the wheels, it was like, oh my gosh, I got to get new wheels. Spent $300 on wheels, which was the same amount as the whole bike was. Eventually, everything on it was replaced except for the frame, and I probably spent $1,200 in the end. But that was my learning experience of how to what is good, what isn't good, why that taught me why plastic derailleurs stink, and why a pot. Hey, there it is. Yeah, that was the bike that I kind of fell in love with. That was like, holy cow!
It's a beast. That is a machine, man.
Yeah.
God, I tell you, I actually had I had a buddy of mine that had the bike, and he thought that was. I mean, and again, point taken. At that time, it was like, wow, this bike's awesome.
Right. No. Well, see, then a couple of years later, I bought. So what was it? That was Richard Cunningham designed. He had the bike company Mantis. So then a couple of years later, I bought a Mantis because I figured, well, I'm not going to go the Nishiki route. I'm going to get directly from the source. So I bought a Mantis Flying V, and holy cow, that thing was awesome. That was an awesome ride.
That's funny. It's amazing. Isn't it amazing if you just like look back how much the industry's changed. But I mean, one of the crazy things that always gets me is you're 100% right about being a bike snob, even though we don't intentionally do that. Like, you catch yourself going, oh my God, that's like, that's like, so, that bike jersey is so like 10 years old, or like, oh my God, it's so like 80s, or, I mean, you say that, but you don't say that, right? The same conversation is, I see it all the time. Like, you see like the old school roadie that's busting out like the Lamprey kit, or the the Cannondale Seiko kit, or on and on and on, right? But it's like to them, it's like, I'm going to ride. I mean, they're not thinking that way, right? They're just like, I'm going to ride my bike, and it, as Ross was saying it, and exactly as all of us should. Like, I feel like if you try to not focus and getting so caught up in that aspect of the sport, I think you're going to be a lot better off. And I feel like, it isn't, I mean, I don't think it's as much of an issue as we are making it out to be, but I guess I think I just bring it out there as a point, because like, I catch myself doing that a lot,
right?
And I think now that I've got younger kids, and I'm not able to, stay up with the Joneses on the latest and greatest frame and fork set, or whatever the most awesomest components, or the new like tires, for example, like, oh, Maxxis Gumwall tires are coming back. I'm just like, dude, I don't care. I've got my Gex tires from like 2 seasons ago. They're fine. I'm gonna keep running them. I'm gonna just run them into the ground, and when they die, I'll buy new ones, right? Where before I'd be like, oh my God, these tires are like 1 season old, I so have to get new ones. Like, you're like, really?
No, yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the wisdom that comes with age too. Is that I think I used to be the same way with tires and stuff, and now it's like, well, I'll just run them until they're threadbare, or until they start giving me problems, and then I'll replace it. And when I replace it, hopefully I'll make the right decision of something that'll last and give me traction. But yeah, I'm not going to go and I know that, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to poo-poo on riders that change their tires for each condition, or for each race course, or that type of thing. There is a place for that. For me, it's just, what? I want a tire that works in all the conditions I ride in, and I'll pick one and keep that on all year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe longer. It all depends.
Right. Yeah, no, and it's I think the other thing too is as we get a little bit better at maintaining our bikes, at riding our bikes, like I think it's funny, I think I look at my earlier days of mountain biking, and man, I was so heavy-handed with my braking that it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't uncommon to wear out like 2 sets of brake pads in a season, or like a tire a season, like at least a tire a season, and it's like all of a sudden you get better, and it's like you realize that you're thinking a little bit more progressively as far as like, okay, I don't need to stop like at this second, but I need to start slowing down, or paying a little bit more attention to the details of things that could be hazardous to your bike. I mean, same thing with road bikes. I mean, I remember the first couple times I actually tried to stop, like actually like locked up the brakes, and I was like skidding on my road bike, which is I mean, not really what you want to do, but it's just the inexperience of not realizing like how you need to get a little bit more better at the technique or whatever it is. So I think you're right. I mean, I think like anything, the seasoned age and the better understanding. Also, too, I think shows like this, integrating yourself with the right groups, the right cycling cultures. Ross, he's heavy duty into cycling and commuting, and I'm sure he's interacts with countless numbers of cyclists, and I'm sure they all have each one has got a completely different story and shtick about their cycling preferences, right? I know Joy, you're getting into some cycling yourself a little bit. Joy is going to be a future guest coming on Bike Chat in a couple of weeks, by the way. And Jonathan, I'm sure you're probably hanging out there. I see your picture, so obviously I would imagine you're associated with cycling as well. So we're coming to the top of the hour. I do want to apologize. This evening's show was slated to have Justin Lindeen. He was unfortunately having some technical difficulties on his end of things, and however, we will be rescheduling. So I do encourage you to take the time and check back. Once again, this is Bike Chat, Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Jonah Pasquale with my co-host Gunnar Soros. Gunnar, by the way, had made some changes to Craft Beer Lab. And what was that again? We got something going on coming up. July already? Man, who knows? It's like right on the corner.
Like what is it? We're about 2 weeks away, so we're changing it to a monthly show, at least.
There you go.
Summer. So we're going the first Tuesday of every month, and so it just happens July episode of Craft Beer Blab is going to be the day after Independence Day, which is July.
Love it.
So
get your America Budweiser.
Yep.
Stock up, baby. America.
Budweiser America and or Burley #America.
Ooh, yeah, I love it. I love
it. Out there that are jumping on this America bandwagon for the summer.
So, yeah, that's awesome. You got some good beers going on in your neighborhood. I almost want to convince the family we need to relocate just to get a little closer to Surly Brewing, for crying out loud.
Yeah, Minnesota's got some great beers.
Yes, I am jealous. So lastly, I do want to give you a very helpful tip. I just actually had this interaction with a friend this past weekend, and I do want to point this out now that obviously the nicer weather is around and the sun's around and people find themselves riding. If you are going to put sunscreen on yourself, do not apply it to yourself with your bike helmet on, okay? Apply the sunscreen to your face, your head, and then put your helmet on. What you may not know is some of the aerosols, the sunscreens, they actually contain a material that will actually compromise and break down the foam of your helmet. True story. Research it, Google it if you want. So when you are applying sunscreen, again, make sure that you are applying it with your cycling helmet off, then put your cycling helmet on. Is it going to be the effect that your helmet will completely fall apart? No, but if you figure that you keep doing that over time, that will compromise the structural integrity of the helmet and not allow it to do what it's supposed to if, unfortunately, it does come to that.
Right. Nice. Great tip. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I actually, the reason is I brought that tip up is I saw my buddy putting sunscreen on himself, like right before we were ready to go for a ride, and I pulled him aside and I actually showed him his helmet, and where he'd actually sprayed himself, you could actually see where it wasn't like instantaneous, but you could tell that he had been doing this over time.
Right.
And essentially, what happens is, because it's a foam, it's like a closed cell foam that they obviously compress in the shape of a helmet. We don't need to get into logistics, but at any rate, the materials were actually slightly pocked or open. And I said, see, that compromises the strength of the helmet, and therefore, if you unfortunately were to fall, that might not be something that's going to work in your face. Like, wow, he's like, I never really thought about that. So, but again, that's just a quick little tip. I feel like a lot of that's an everybody across the board tip, by the way. Just whoever you are, just if you're putting sunscreen on, just make sure your helmet's not on.
Yeah.
And otherwise, that's pretty much going to bring us up to the top of the hour. I've got a bunch of stuff I need to get to, so I'm going to pull the plug a little early here this evening's show. Next week's show, my goodness, who is going to be on next week's show? None other than Coach Rob. Are you pumped?
I'm pumped.
Coach Rob, dude, that guy's been he's like blowing up. He's been like blowing up Twitter. I mean, that guy's got some super helpful tips, from multi-sport athletes to regular, Joe Blow's weekend warriors like myself, even avid lunch ride jockeys like you, Gunnar. So I definitely want to invite everybody back. Share this out. Tune in next Thursday. Coach Rob, great guy. Give him a follow on Twitter if you want to get a little bit more up to speed with what he's doing these days. But it will be the first time that we will be having him here on Bike Chat, so I'm really excited about that. Stay tuned also for the reschedule with the Justin Lindeen episode. And then also, listen to this. We have on the 7th of the July, Jeremy Powers is going to be joining us. There you go. Thanks for sharing that out. Yeah, that's going to be J Pow. That's going to be exciting. Again, another cyclocross phenom, super good guy. Definitely, yeah. Jeremy Powers is going to be on Bike Chat on the 7th. So save that date. And then also, too, on our show this evening, Joy, you are up on deck. You will be joining us on the 14th. Joy Gouge has got some great things to talk about. I'm not going to spill the beans because she and I have had a couple offline conversations. She's very inspirational, so I'm very excited to get her to tell you a little bit more about her situation and her story. Otherwise, Gunnar, you got the last word on Bike Chat. What's happening?
Hey, everybody, just keep it safe. Ride safe out there. We get, I've been hearing a lot of different things about traffic altercations, and so I just want to remind everyone to stay safe.
Yeah, good tip.
Ride within the laws, and as easy as it seems to when you get buzzed by a car or something to go off the handle, that usually doesn't help the situation. If you do get put into a compromised position by a vehicle, just call the police and try to get their license number, because if you start yelling and cursing and doing the one finger salute, you escalate pretty quickly, and sometimes you're in a situation where cycling shoes are not the most easiest shoes to box in. So somebody that goes physical and you're in cycling shoes, it's not very easy to kind of duck and bob and weave and get out of the way. So just be safe.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, hey, Gunnar, great tip. Definitely not planning on doing any speed boxing in my road cycling shoes. I do want to thank our guests for hanging in here. Ross, thanks for Just Another Cyclist, one of our previous guests. If you missed that episode, check that out on our replays, either Gunnar's Blab page or mine. Also, give them a follow at J and Other Cyclists. They've got a great blog you want to check out as well for media, photos, and things like that. Also, give Joy Gouge a follow. She's going to be our guest on the 14th. And also, too, again, Jonathan Jonathan App 81 or Jonathan Perez, actually. I want to thank you for continually tuning in. It's great to have you on the show. Do appreciate your time. Love riding my bikes. What a great way to end the show. As I said, on behalf of Gunnar, my name is Jonah Pasquale. This is another edition of Bike Chat, and everyone be well. We will see you next week. Thank you again. Bye.